Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Codophobia. If you are a subscriber of my channel, you would have seen that I have not uploaded any videos in last 2 to 3 months on this channel. The reason was that I was busy with my office work and also I was not at home, like I was outside. And that was the reason I was not able to upload any videos in last 2 to 3 months. And if you are not a subscriber of my channel, then do not forget to subscribe to this channel and support me, because like if you subscribe to my channel and see my content here, and if you give feedback to me, it will be very helpful for me in the long term. Now let's come back to this video. So in this video, I will be talking about sockets. So I will be giving you an introduction of sockets and socket programming. And this is a part of the computer networking series that is ongoing on my channel. Like I have already uploaded a lot of videos in this course, computer networking course. So if you have not watched my previous videos, like I think I have uploaded around 20 videos till now, and there is a playlist of computer networking on my channel. And I will also paste the link of that playlist in the description and the comment here so that you can see. So do watch all the videos before this. Like before this, I have covered TCP IP model and all the layers that are there in TCP IP model. Like you have application layer, you have transport layer, you have network layer, you have data link layer. So I have covered introduction of all of this in my previous videos. Plus I have covered all the protocols that are there in application layer. Like I have covered about HTTP protocol, I have covered about SMTP protocol, then we have TLS protocol, then we also have services like DNS, which are there in the application layer. So I have covered all of this in those 20 videos. And what I've also done is I have shown you examples using Wireshark and also using Linux commands, so that you actually understand what is happening when you, let's say, when you are visiting some HTTP website or HTTPS website. So what's happening on the background, that you can understand through those examples. Okay. Now in this video, like this, like I have divided the socket programming into 3 parts. This is the part 1 of that, where I will just give you an introduction of what is sockets and why they are needed, right? I will give you an introduction of that. In the next part, the second part of socket programming, I will discuss socket programming with the help of UDP protocol. And in the third part, I will discuss socket programming with the help of TCP protocol. So do watch this series in continuation, because all of the videos in this, like the socket programming, are related to each other. So first we will discuss about how network applications are actually created. So there are a lot of network applications there in the world today, because like you yourself are using a lot of them. Like for example, Facebook.com, Google.com, YouTube.com, even DNS, and all of these are kind of network applications itself, because they do use the network for communication. And a typical network application consists of client and server program. I mean, I'm telling you typical network applications, not all of them, but most of them do consist of a client and a server program. Like all the applications that we have discussed in application layer, like all of those were mostly client and server program. But yeah, there will be like some applications like BitTorrent, right? They do not follow client and server programming. They follow peer-to-peer model. So that is a bit different here. But most of them do follow client and server model. Now, client process and server process communicate with each other using sockets. So in this video, of course, I'm going to discuss about what are sockets. So you have 2 processes, right? So you have one process, client process, another process is server process. Now, how they will communicate with each other? Of course, we know that, I mean, we have the internet, we have the routers and everything, that's fine. But I mean, on the operating system itself, right? So you have the application, right? Now this, whatever application data is there, it needs to be passed to the kernel first, right? How does that happen? So that happens with the help of sockets. I will tell you more about this in the next example. Like I have a diagram, I will show you this, how this actually happens. Now, the main task of a developer is to write code for client and server programs. So a developer does not have to worry about the infrastructure itself, right? The routers and all that are in the middle, that helps in transmitting the data. Or they do not have to worry about data link layer, network layer, transport layer also they do not need to worry. They just have to write the application program for client and server. But they have to decide whether to use TCP or UDP for running applications, because TCP has its own advantage, UDP has its own advantage. So whenever you are building an application, you need to think whether you want to use TCP for communication or UDP for communication. Now, of course, we'll discuss about what is socket programming and also writing code to implement a simple client server application using both TCP and UDP. Of course, we will not do that in the first part itself, but we will do that in the second and third part. Now, let's look at this diagram that I have here, and I will use this diagram to explain you what sockets are and how they are helpful. Okay. So let's say this is your client here. So this is my client here, and this is the server here. And I am discussing about HTTP protocol here. Okay, like I can take any other protocol also here, but we know that HTTP is a client server based protocol. So and okay, in HTTP, what will be your client? In HTTP, typically your client will be browser, or maybe some commands like curl can be your client, or telnet can be your client, that I've discussed before. Okay, let's say this here at least the client is the browser, let's say. Okay. So what will be the client process here? That will be a browser process here. So basically in process, I have written browser here. And what will your server process? So server process will be some web server here, because the example I'm taking is of, let's say you are making a request of google.com on your browser. Okay. So here, this process will be some web server process, web server. Okay. Web server can be anything, like it can be Apache web server, Nginx web server, or any other here. Now we know that, okay, which is the client process and which is the server process. Okay. Now the next thing is, you see in this diagram, see one this is very important thing. So it is written there that this process, like the client process as well as the server process, these are controlled by the application developer. So whatever browser is there, right, there are some code written in that, and it is controlled typically by the whoever has developed that code, by application developer. They can make the changes in that code. Okay. Similarly, the web server that is there, somebody has written code for the web server, and that is controlled by the application developer itself. But after the sockets, what you are seeing is that everything is controlled by the operating system or kernel. This is very important. So the programmers, typically the programmers like who make these network applications, they do have the control of the application, whatever they are creating, but they do not have control over the other layers. So if you remember from the TCP IP model, if you remember correctly, so I discussed about four important four important layers. So first one was the application layer, second was transport, third one was a network, and fourth one was data link. Okay. Now this application layer, so the programmer has full control over this application layer, like whatever they want to write in that code. Okay. Whatever data they want to send, they have full control on this, right? It is decided by them what data wants to go from application to transport layer. But once they have sent the data to the transport layer, from here itself, they do not have much control. They have some control, but very few control they have. Most of the control after this is with the operating system or kernel. So that's why if you see below this, so of course, I will explain about what sockets are here, but to remember this is very important here. Now, what sockets are? If you see, this socket is in between, right? If you see, this is TCP, this is basically transport layer, this is application layer kind of, and socket is in between both of them. So socket is basically kind of intermediate here. So like if you want to send some data, okay, basically you want to send some data to some other server, right? For example here. So first you have to pass the data through the socket. So let's say in this case, the data will be, so I'm making a get request here. So get, and the path is / here, then HTTP version will be there. So I have discussed this in HTTP protocol, and then there will be a lot of headers there. So one of the headers will be host here, that will be www.google.com. Okay. So this is the data that I have here. So basically the browser will have this data because you are just typing google.com on the browser, but browser then will create this data. Okay. Now this data needs to be sent to this web server that is running in some data center far away. So first what will happen, the browser, what it will do, the browser will first send this data to the socket. Okay. First it will send the data to the socket, and from the socket itself, the kernel will take control of everything. The kernel will then basically, so the kernel has the responsibility of sending this data to the server. It's not your responsibility from now onward. The kernel will take care of sending this data, but you can mention like which protocol do you want to use. So when you are creating socket, you can tell the I mean the kernel, that I want to use TCP protocol or UDP protocol. You do have control over that. So I will show you an example here. So how that actually happens. So I'm going into that because see, you should understand what is happening on the background. So when you are typing out google.com, I have discussed a lot in the previous videos what is happening, but I will share something different here in terms of socket here, what actually is happening, what your browser is doing. So I'm not saying this will be exactly same, but this is a kind of similar to what happens in the browser. Okay. So now see, once you have entered our google.com, now this data will be created by the browser itself. Now it will create a new socket because socket are the intermediate through which it can basically tell the kernel that, okay, I want to send this data. And if you remember from my operating system videos, if you want to talk to the kernel, you have to use system calls. So basically, and it is a kernel responsibility to send this data. That's, I mean, there are different modules in kernel which perform this operation of sending the data. Like basically the kernel will create the transport layer. In transport layer, what you have segments, right? So the kernel will first create the segment, then the kernel will create the datagram, that is a part of network layer. Then the kernel will also create the frame, and then the kernel will send this frame. So kernel will do all of these things. So what browser will do, it will create the socket because it wants to communicate with the kernel that I want to send this data. Let's call this data, okay? Now, what first the browser will do, it will do something like, let's say as equal to socket, okay? Basically, it is going to create a socket, okay? And it will also mention which protocol I want to use. So browser can tell maybe UDP or TCP, right? So let's say here we are going to use TCP protocol here, okay? Now, every socket is associated with a IP address and port number, okay? So typically you can use something function like as.bind. So you want to bind this socket first to some IP address. So in this case, the IP address will be whatever source IP address is there. Let's call it s_IP and some port number, that is something like s_source_port, okay? Now, in case of client, typically you do not have to call this bind function because the kernel will do this by its own. You do not have to do this. I mean, the browser does not have to do this. The kernel will typically do this. But in case of server, it will be different because if you see, server is different. The server is always listening for some connection, right? The client is different. Client is the one who makes the connection, right, to the server. Server does not make the connection to the client, right? That is not true. Now, of course, this binding will take place, like either the browser can do or it can leave this to the kernel itself. After this, it can use the function s dot, let's say send to, okay? Then it has to pass like what it wants to send, right? Browser wants to send what, right? First, and do remember all of these are system calls, okay? Because here the browser is talking to the kernel. So these all are system calls here. Then s dot send to is basically, okay, what data the browser wants to send, that will be data here. And then it will also provide, okay, where it wants to send the data. That is very important. Now it wants to send the data to some server IP and server port number, okay? I mean, you will think that, okay, why I should mention the server port number here, right? Why I cannot just mention the server IP address? Because I mean, I just want to send the data to this server. So just mention server IP address, it should be done. But later on, I will tell you why port numbers are used here. That is very important, okay? Now this send to it will use, okay? And okay, if you are getting confused over socket programming, I will make it very easier for you. Sockets are quite similar. So for your understanding, let's compare sockets to your normal files. So your normal file you have open, right? Open, right? Then you have read file. These are operations for normal files. Then you have write files, okay? Then you also have close the files, okay? Similar thing is for sockets also, right? In sockets, you can replace write with the send function, like send to or send function, right? So this is in socket send to. And read is something like receive, RECV, receive from, okay? And open is something like you create the socket is the open, and close also will be close. It will be similar. So you can compare your normal file system with sockets, and in socket also what you are doing, you are creating a socket, then you want to send some data, right? Then that is kind of writing here, right? Then you are using send to here, send to function, and you are mentioning what data you want to send and also where you want to send the data. And do remember this all code, of course, this code, all code is written in the browser, but all of these are system calls. Basically, this all code will be executed in the kernel. Okay. Now, when the browser will finally use this function as dot send to data, this thing. Okay. From here, now kernel knows everything because all of these are system calls. So kernel knows, okay, what if, because this browser has provided everything. It has provided the data. What is the, source IP server IP address. That is basic destination IP address here. What is the destination port? And also it has also this is provided, right, which is the source IP address and what is the source port number. So everything is known to the kernel now after these code are executed. Now what from here, basically once the browser calls this send to function, now the kernel will take care of everything. Now the kernel will take care of basically delivering this data to the server. And since the TCP protocol is being used here, so it will be guaranteed by the kernel or by the TCP protocol. Basically this TCP protocol is implemented in the kernel itself. So it will be guaranteed by TCP protocol that your data will be delivered. Okay. From here, what will happen? Okay. Now think in terms of the TCP IP model, the encapsulation and decapsulation, if you remember, right? The same thing will happen here. After this send to function is called, now the kernel will take control. So now what will happen after send2 is called by the browser, that is system call, the kernel will first create the segment. Okay. Now, if you remember in segment, what is segment? Segment is a part of the transport layer. Okay. And in segment, what will happen? You will have the data here, data to be sent. And in this, there will be transport layer headers. So here it will be source port number and destination port number in this header. These are two important fields. There are many other fields also, but these are the two important ones. Now the kernel will first create this. After this, the kernel will pass the data to the transport layer. I mean, all this transport layer, network layer, like all of this, there are different modules that are written in the kernel itself. The code is there in the kernel itself. Everything will be done in the kernel now. Similarly, in the network module, what will happen? You will have a datagram getting created. Datagram. So in the payload field, you will have this segment. And here you will have the network layer headers. Important ones are source IP address and destination IP address. Okay. Now after this is created, next it will go to the data link layer, right? That is also, kernel will do here. It will create all of these like frames also. It will also create this frame. It will create the frame. And here it will be datagram will be here in payload. And here you will have in the frame header, the important ones are source MAC address and destination MAC address. Now this frame will be then passed to the, physical layer, right? Now the physical layer will take care of passing this, like whatever frame you have, it will go through the routers. Finally, it will reach the destination. And at destination, if you remember, decapsulation will happen. So here encapsulation was happening, and on the server side, decapsulation will happen. And I will not again go into everything like data link layer and network layer, what will happen there. I will just go to transport layer. Okay. Finally, when the kernel is doing the decapsulation, it will reach the transport layer, and then it will have the data and source port number and destination port number. This is a segment here, which has already reached this here in the transport layer. The segment that we created here, right, this segment, now it has reached the server socket basically, or server transport layer. Now the transport layer will see that, okay, transport layer is not worried about what data is there. It is worried about what is the destination port number. Now it will check, okay, which process is running on this. So it will not actually check the process. It will check which socket is associated with this port number 80. And we know that this socket here is associated with server IP address and server port number. Okay. So every socket is associated with one IP address and one port number. So this server socket will be associated with server IP, and server port number here will be 80 because it's a HTTP web server. So port number will be 80 here. Now it will see that in the segment, the kernel will see that, okay, the port number, destination port number is 80 here. So it will pass the whatever data is there. It will pass with the help of this socket. Again, the socket will be intermediate. This socket will then pass the data to this process here. Okay. This web server here. Now the web server will take this data, okay, and of course it will process this data, create a response, and of course then it will use so basically now the I mean, opposite will happen, right? Now server, for the server now, for server, what will be the destination port number? It will be the port number of the client, this one, right? This port number. Similarly, what will be the destination IP address for web server process, right? For it, the destination IP address will be basically the source IP address. Sorry, will be source IP address. Okay, I have written both as SIP, so that's why you may get confused. So this would be basically, let's call this client IP address C underscore IP and C underscore port. Okay, I mean, you do not get confused. So I was thinking this as source IP, that's why I include S. But yeah, let's call this C underscore IP, that is client IP and client port number. So basically the reverse will happen, and whatever response it has created in the same fashion that we have sent it the data from client to server, in the same fashion what will happen, this process will send the data to the client. So now I hope you would have understood what sockets are. Basically sockets are kind of, you can think of it as an intermediate. Basically this, I mean, for creating a sockets, you need to use system calls. For sending also, you need to use system calls for sending some data. For receiving data also, you need to call some system calls. I mean, like for example, if this client is waiting for some data, so it has to use this function recv from, okay, and then it can write here some, like it is waiting from data, right? So it has to call as.receive from, and I will discuss about more syntax of this later on in the programming. But a receive from is like reading the data, it is waiting for some data from the server. Similarly, this server also will call this receive from, like it will be waiting for some data from the client, it will call receive from, it will be waiting. And when it wants to send data, it will use send to function. So like everything will be associated with the sockets here. So the only control that process will have is the process can call the system calls that are associated with the socket. So socket is intermediate here with which the process will interact with. And after that, it is not, the process does not have to do anything. The kernel will take care of this, because whatever process is calling this socket and as.bind, as.send to, as.receive from, all of these are system calls. Then the kernel will take care of everything here that I have shown you here. So what actually happens is many people do not understand what is actually happening, right? How the data is getting sent, like is any functions getting called for sending data, or how the browser is actually sending data, what are sockets, and how these layers, right? Different layers you have. How does this layer know about, like, okay, you want to send data, or whether these layers, like whatever layers we have, transport layer, network layer. So do they actually run some code, and where do they run the code? Okay, so do remember that all these layers are logical layers, right? They have some code associated with it, and the kernel takes care of everything, right? All of these layers, like the transport layer, like there are a code written for transport layer, like how to use TCP, how to use UDP, how to make the data transfer reliable. For all of these there are code written, and that is there in the kernel. Similarly for networking layer, right? There are a lot of code written, like how to verify the IP address and everything. The code is written. In your data link layer also there are code written, and also I mean in some layers you also have to take help of hardware also. For example, in data link layer you will have Ethernet, and in physical layer you have the wires and all. So of course it requires the combination of both software, that is code, plus hardware to make the data transfer successful. I mean over the network. Again, you have routers, like routers are mostly hardware devices. Like there are also some software part there, but most of them are hardware devices. So they will also help in basically routing the data and forwarding the data. Now see my last line, processes running on different machines communicate with each other by sending messages into sockets. So this line is very important. That's what sockets are. Sockets are intermediate. Do remember this. And if you do have any doubt about whatever I have discussed here, if you do not understand something, do ask that me in comments. Okay, till now I have not discussed what ports are, like why ports are used. Okay, I have not discussed about this. Let's discuss also about this. So you would have thought that now when this client is sending a data, why it cannot just use the source IP? Why it has to give the source port number, right? Why this is required? The reason is that, see, on this server, multiple process can be running, or multiple network process can be running here. For example, let's say, let me clear some more screen here. Okay. Now there can be two network process running here. Like let's say one is the web server. Okay. A web server, of course, is a network process. Another can be, let's say, a database server. Database server. This is also a server, like which is again a network process here. Now, if both the process are running on this, Now, how do you differentiate between both of these? Like both of these are network process. Okay. How do you differentiate between both of these? So for that, what can happen? They can run on different ports. Like both are of course running on the same IP address, the destination IP address or the server IP address here. But to differentiate both of these process, we can assign different port numbers to them. Like this can run on port number 80 and data server can run on some port number X, let's say, right? So these are running on two different processes. Now, when this client wants to send the data, if it does not mention the port, now here the kernel will get confused. Now what will happen? The server will be confused or the transport layer here will be confused. Okay, to which process I should send the data? Like it has not, I mean, the client has not mentioned the process to which send the data. We have multiple processes running to whom I should send the data. It has, the client has only mentioned the IP address. Now to make it easier, we have port number. Now, if you have port number, what will happen? Now this, I mean, the transport layer here, of course, will know that, okay, on port number 80, web server is running and on port number X, data server is running. And it will see that this client wants to send data to port number 80. So that's why what the transport layer on server will do, it will direct whatever message is there, whatever data is there to port number 80 process. Like with every port number, a process will be associated or a socket will be associated, right? So through that socket, it will pass the data and that socket will then pass the data to the process. That's why port number are needed. So port numbers helps in differentiating different network processes that are running on the same system. Now the next question is, what is socket programming? Okay, so socket programming, if you see from here, it is just a inter-process communication. So you have one process here, you have one process here. Now both of these processes wants to communicate. Now socket programming is helpful here. That's what we have done here. We have done some socket programming that helped in basically communicating between these two processes, or whatever this process, whatever data this process wanted to send to this process, the server process, with the help of socket programming or with the help of socket, we can send that. So this is a kind of inter-process communication here. Now, a socket is a kind of logical endpoint for communication on network. So as I told you, right, every socket is a kind of logical endpoint. Like for every network process, you can create one socket, and with the help of that socket, you can send the data or receive the data from the other like network applications. So there are two types of sockets that I should discuss here because this will be used a lot in the programming. One is server socket, one is client. So in this case, if you see, this is the client socket and this is the server socket. Okay. So of course, I have written the commands that were executed for creating this socket, like SQL socket, then bind everything. I've written for the client side. Of course, for the server side, I have not mentioned the command, but similar commands will be there. In server socket also, what will happen typically is, let me clear this. So let me clear this here. So on server socket also, what will happen? Let's call this, I mean, again, S equal to, then again, another socket will be created here. And again, this, let's say this is also TCP. And then again, you have to bind it here. Now this, in case of server socket, you have to bind it to some port number and some IP address. In case of client, it is optional. If you want to bind, it's fine. If you do not want to bind, the kernel will do it. You do not have to worry about that. But in case of server socket, you have to do it because a server is always binded on that port number, right? It will always listen on that port number. That's why you have to mention it. Then you will call the server IP and server port number. You will give it here. In here, let's say it will be 80. And then basically this will use as dot receive from. So basically it is waiting for some data. It is blocked on receive from. So basically what is the use of server? A server will typically serve some data. So it will wait for some request from the client. Once some request comes, it will see, okay, what the client is requesting. It will process that. And of course, that's why receive from. It is waiting for the client request or client data. So once the data is here, it will then process that data and then it will use as dot send to that whatever data it wants to send and to the client. It will use this. So basically similar operations will happen on server socket also. Now see the difference. Server socket is bounded to a specific port number and this is decided by RFC. What RFC is mean? RFC full form is request for comments. Okay. For example, HTTP is an open source protocol. Okay. We know that for HTTP port number is 80. So if you are creating a server socket for HTTP protocol, typically you will bind that on port number 80, because browser, whenever they see HTTP, right, you are making request to HTTP, they will always send the request to port number 80. Okay, unless you hard code it, right? By default, it will send the request to port number 80. So that's why a server socket are typically bounded to a port or binded to a port. But client socket, they are also bounded to a specific port, but this is decided by the system, by the kernel itself. As I told you, it's optional. You can also provide the port number to which, you want to bind the client socket, but this is not recommended, because let's say if a port number is already in the use, then it will give you an error if you want to bind to the one port number that is already in use. You cannot do that. That's why let's leave that to the system. So kernel will select some port number that is free, and then it can use that port number for communication. Next thing is server waits or listens for a client to make a connection request. So this is typically true for TCP, because TCP is connection oriented. So in that case, what will happen? The server will be binded to some port number and server, and it will keep listening for some connection request from the client. In UDP, what will happen? UDP is connectionless. So in UDP, it will not happen. In UDP, it will just start receiving the message after creating the socket and binding. It will start receiving the message directly after that. Now client socket knows the server hostname or IP address of servers to it wants to connect. See, client is the one that makes the connection first, right? That's why client should know to which server it wants to make the request, and also the port number to which processor on that server it wants to make the request. So it is the requirement for the client. For server, it's not the requirement. The server does not want to know, about the client from before itself. So once the client makes the request, from then onwards, the server will know about the client, right? But before, initiating the connection itself from the client, the server will not worry about, okay, which all are the clients for it. So that's why client wants to know that's why if you have seen here client knows, okay, to where it wants to send the data. It knows what is the server IP address. Also, it knows what is the server port number. The client will know that. And also the client can either use TCP UDP for communication, right? It can either select TCP or UDP for communication. Similarly, server also, depends on, like whether the client wants to use TCP or UDP. Depending on that, the server will also use the same protocol for communication. Now, I hope you would have understood what socket programming is. I have also given you a small example here that I will use later. So now you will understand what socket programming is. Now, for a socket programming exercise that we will do, like the programs we will write for UDP and TCP socket programming. So we will use the following simple client server application to demonstrate socket programming for both UDP and TCP. Okay. Now this is very important. So this is a very simple program here, simple client server program here. Now what the client will do, the client reads a line of characters or data from the keyboard and sends the data to the server. So of course, on the client side, it will take input from the user. You input some data, and whatever data you input, it will take that data and send this data to the server. So in this example, if you see, the data was quite different. Like you were in browser, the browser was the client, right? But here we will be writing the client from our own side. The server receives the data and converts the characters to uppercase. So client has sent the data, server will receive this data. Whatever data it receives, it will convert that data into uppercase. Now the server will send the modified data to the client. So whatever uppercase data is there, it will send the data back to the client. Now the client will receive the modified data and display the whatever modified data is on the screen. We will understand that more with the example, the actual code. And also the language that I will be using for implementing this client and server will be Python here or Python 3 here. So I would have gone with some other programming languages also, but Python is quite easy to write. And also if you see all the system calls or whatever functions are there, right? I've written here, right? All of this, these are very easy to understand in Python. So that's why I'm selected Python here. And you can also select another programming language to convert this program to maybe C++, C, Java, all of this. Now, of course, in the next video, I will discuss about how to do socket programming with UDP. Okay. But do remember whatever I have discussed in this video, that will be very useful. I will not repeat all of those again, like, okay, why sockets are needed, why sockets are bounded to some port number, IP address. Like I will not discuss all of those in the next videos. So that's all for this video. Thank you.